thoughts on this.
All right. Okay, we've got another telly. This is a 61 telly.
Yeah.
How'd you pick this one up?
Well, I was doing a Nebraska block party when I was on the board of governors for Nebraska. It's been about 1999. So we had a block party outside down off of Music Row, and a fellow named Jim Casey walks up to me, and he and Jerry Phillips, son of Sam Phillips, had a little radio show they were doing that was part of a thing in Muscle Shoals, and asked me if I would come be on the radio show sometime. But while he was talking to me, he said, "Your dad is the reason why me and all my buddies back in Norfolk, Nebraska wanted to learn to play the guitar. Let's go to lunch, let's meet." And so the next time I come to see him, he hands me in the shrink wrap Tom and Jerry, which is a thing that Dad did with Tommy Tomlinson in 1960. So I gave that record to Dad. I said, "Do you even have this?" He goes, "Well, no, not in that condition or whatever." So, and then I just got to getting to know Jim at some point. He said, "Do you like old guitars?" I said, "Yeah, of course." He goes, "Well, would you like to see my 59 Strat?" And at that point, a 59 Strat was like a dream guitar for me. I was born in November of 59. So he said, "All right, I'll bring it the next time we get together." And then he brought it. And then as we were walking towards the case, he started explaining to me everything that had been changed on it. And so shoulders are slumping more and more as we get to the case. And I think by the time we opened the case, the neck was the original part or something.
Yeah.
It was still a cool guitar, but it wasn't all the original thing. He said, "Now there is this gal back in my hometown in Norfolk, Nebraska that has a whole basement full of this stuff that I know she was trying to sell." I said, "Well, what all was in there?" He said, "Well, there were guitars and amplifiers. Do you remember anything?" And he said, "Well, it seemed like Fender, Vox, maybe." He said, "You know what? I've got a videotape that she made where she's standing there holding all these guitars and saying, here's a Fender Telecaster and here's a Vox AC30 or whatever." Her brother, who had passed away in 1991. So here we are in 1999, and she's got this, it's a VHS tape where she's holding up all this stuff. And I'm looking at the video with Jim going, "Well, that looks like the real deal." And so he went to his desk and he got out a phone book for Norfolk, Nebraska, which was about as thick as a comic book, He called J.C. Penney's and asked to speak to Jeannie Patrick. "Is Jeannie Patrick working there?" Yeah. He says that to me. He goes, "Jeannie, do you know who this is?" "That's right. It's Jim Casey." He said, "Do you still have the stuff in the basement?" "Well, I've got a guy here that's going to buy it all. We'll get a van and come up there and pick it all up." So we drove 15 hours to Norfolk, Nebraska. And there was this 61 Telecaster. There was a hardtail Stratocaster, 1959, with stenciled in one of the pickup cavities, November of 1959. I'm like, "What?"
Your birth
That's
month
me.
and year.
That's stenciled in one of my cavities. No, it's not. But I was born in November of 59, so it was like, that's my dream guitar right there, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've had people pick it up who say, "Oh, I hate Stratocasters. Oh, I love this guitar." It's just different. Weighs like a badminton racket or something, real light. And there was a 54 gold top with a factory Bigsby Dogbone style bridge, and just some really cool guitars. So yeah, in 1999, I did what I called the great guitar run of Nebraska guitar run of 1999, and picked up, I think it was like 10 guitars and 11 amplifiers.
Wow.
Yeah. And it took us 16 hours to get back home, I think, because of the extra weight. It was one more hour coming back. But yeah, so that's where this came from. And I kind of stayed in touch with them. I wish I was still in touch with them now, but I ended up sending them some stuff from Garth and said, "Hey, watch Austin City Limits on this. I'm going to play that guitar on the show." And they were so thrilled that the guitars were getting used by somebody. She said that her brother used to stand in front of the mirror and play these guitars and dream of doing what you're doing, So they were happy that they found the home they found for them, and so was I.
Yeah.
Yeah.